Everybody's got a price. Everybody's gonna pay. 'Cause the $1 million man always gets his way. Money, 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 money. Some might cost a little. Some might cost a lot. But I'm the $1 million man. And you will be bought.
Welcome back to Keep It Real Boxing, and welcome back to another episode of my weekly podcast called Bout the Ropes. I am your host, Cypherbox. Alright, so let's get into it. Let's not waste any time on any sort of jibber jabber. Look, I want to start off by talking about, obviously, Shelly Finkel and his interview on The Boxing Voice, where he stated that, you know, the Wilder versus AJ may not take place till 2020. And then also Eddie Hearn and talking about, you know, take control of your career. Not only that, I want to talk about Deontay Wilder's interview on Blue Blood TV, I think it's called. I saw a tweet from Michael Benson saying that, you know, he did this interview on Blue Blood TV, searched it out and I've had a little listen myself, where apparently Deontay Wilder turned around and said that even if 50-50 was offered this year, he may not take it. He didn't say he wouldn't take it, he said he may not take it. So I kind of want to get into all of this stuff regarding AJ Wilder and then talk about some other stuff as always. Okay, so what does Shelly Finkel say on The Boxing Voice? Well, I'm just going to try and break it down as quick as possible, yeah? So he basically turned around and said that, you know, the reason the fight may not take place till 2020 is because that's what AJ and Eddie Hearn said. They said they never wanted the fight till 2020. Remember that interview that Anthony Joshua did at the back end in October 2017 when Johnny Nelson was sitting there? It was a Sky Sports Toe-to-Toe podcast. And he basically turned around and said, look, you know, if the fight happens next year or the year after that or the year after that, you know, I'll make sure I'm going to be in the best position to beat Deontay Wilder. And that worked out to about 2020. With all the games that they've played last year and stuff like that, Shelly Finkel thinks, well, why waste any more time with these guys? We might as well just plan ahead and do our own thing. And then in 2020, we'll go again. He was also asked whether, you know, they had already planned Deontay Wilder's next two fights, according to rumours that he was going to fight Luis Ortiz next and then Adam Nowacki next after that. Shelly Finkel basically said that yes, those fights are in the works, but they're not confirmed. The only fight that's locked in is the Brazil fight. He was also asked whether he had any more communication with DAZN and John Skipper, and he said he'd spoken to John Skipper more than once. Yeah, he said, we're building a very good relationship. Conversations will continue and will eventually lead to the Wilder AJ fight. The subject of Tyson Fury also came up, where he stated that they were still in talks with Team Fury. Yeah, and he was asked the question, well, how is it that you're able to talk to Tyson Fury's team but not able to talk to Anthony Joshua's team? All right, considering, you know, Tyson Fury, you know, there was a 50-50 offer for the rematch put on the table. He opted to go with ESPN. Can't blame him for that because a lot of money was put on the table. And then that obviously killed off the rematch with Wilder. And he said that, you know, negotiations and talks with Fury are being kept private. You know, there's no name calling, there's no gamemanship in the press. Yeah, and it could happen in 2019. And I say could happen in 2019 because he also stated that Tyson Fury has stated, his team has stated that they may want another tune-up after Tom Schwartz. So it may happen in 2019, it may not, but then they haven't closed the door on a rematch with Tyson Fury. He also stated that when it comes to negotiations to a fight, he said we don't want to be dictated to. Yeah, we sit down, we make a deal that both sides are happy with. Yeah, so he's referring to Eddie Hearn and Matchroom, that they're trying to dictate to us what we should be doing, right? They're trying to dictate to us that we need to do this, that we need to do that if you want this fight. And they're saying, we're not going to have that, yeah? We sit down as two teams and we come up with a resolution, basically, is what he's saying there, right? Also stating, there's always hope that the fight with AJ can happen after Brazil, but that's not our direction right now, and the public will understand as it all unfolds. He said as well that he believes all of AJ's fights will be on DAZN. He said he likes John Skipper, which is a good sign, and they're taking the time to learn about each other, which, will help make the fight. He says maybe, the AJ versus Wilder fight may be a co-promotional deal, where they show it on Showtime and DAZN, but he's confident his relationship with Skipper will help make the fight. This is something that Joe Markowski of DAZN, who gets regularly interviewed by IFL and Kugan Cassius, he did an interview last week as well in the build-up to Canelo versus Jacobs, and he said, yeah, we're our communication, our relationship with Shelly Finkel and Team Wilder is actually very good. We're still talking to each other. So he admitted that as well. So there's no lie in that by the looks of things at all, because Joe Markowski, whatever his name is, from DAZN, has also kind of turned around and said, hey, we're still in talks with them, the door isn't shut. This was also interesting what he said at the end. He said that he claims anyway that AJ contacted Team Wilder about that $50 million offer. So when the $50 million offer was made, apparently AJ contacted Team Wilder directly and said, send me the contract, send me the offer, I want to see it, right? And apparently Shelly Finkel also turned around and said that Barry Hearn emailed him saying that don't ever contact my fighter directly, and he replied saying that, well, I didn't contact your fighter contacted me. So what I'm going to do now is move on to the Blue Blood TV interview with Deontay Wilder. And basically he was asked, like, if you were offered 50-50 on the table now, would you take it? And he said that maybe I would take it. He goes, because at the end of the day, they said 2020 is when they wanted to fight. He said they played games last year, they didn't want the fight last year, so don't start crying now if you can't get the fight here in 2019. He also turned around and said that they've got nowhere to go. They need me, right? When it comes to America, they need me, yeah? Who do they fight next after Andy Ruiz? Basically what he was saying here in America, right? Is basically what he's saying. Not, obviously I'm not in America, but that's what he was saying in the interview. He also said that, look, we've made our plans because they made it clear they don't want to fight until 2020. Right? He says he doesn't believe Eddie Hearn, let's be honest. He goes, the guy, in his opinion, Eddie Hearn is a liar. He can't trust Eddie Hearn with all the games that were played last year regarding, especially when they ended up fighting Povetkin and all that sort of stuff. He says, can't trust the man, can't take the man for his word. So basically what he's saying is, I'm not going to stop my momentum at the moment because these guys want to keep playing games just to make it out that they want the fight when they don't. So we'll wait to 2020. So here are my thoughts, yeah? Are they wrong in what they are saying about Eddie Hearn? No. Did Eddie Hearn want to make the fight in 2017? No, he didn't. We know AJ with his comments, they clearly weren't interested. Did he want to make it in 2018? No, he didn't. We know that with the games he played regarding the time when they were offering the $15 million. I proved that in my videos last year. You can go back and watch them. There's a whole playlist. I'm getting a lot of people jumping on my comment section saying, when did he say that? When did he say this? When did he do that? And now my reply is simply, well, you know what? You want my answer? Watch this video. And I link the video to him now, yeah? Because I'm tired of repeating myself, yeah? I have proven, I proved it, I showed it, I broke down the timeline of how Eddie Hearn disrupted the negotiations for that $15 million last year. All right. He also, how he delayed the signing of the contract, and then the WBA stepped in and called the mandatory against Povetkin. Also, how they stated that Wembley wasn't available last September, that they'll probably have to have the fight in the Principality Stadium in October or November for the when they were offering that $15 million to Wilder. And then the deal breaks down with Wilder, and suddenly Wembley became available for September against Povetkin. Says it all, really, innit? So you clearly didn't want the fight in 2018, so they're not wrong in a sense, yeah? And AJ said it himself, the year after, or the year after that, which is 2020, so they're not wrong in what they're saying. Now, here's the funny thing, right? Okay, there was the whole talk about personal insults, aimed at Team Wilder, especially Shelly Finkel, where, you know, Eddie Hearn was calling him, and he still calls him, well, he's not calling him now because he's decided he's not going to do that anymore, right? Which is calling him Shirley Winkle or Wrinkle, whatever he calls him, right? Now, he said, it's a bit of banter, you know, they're getting their knickers in a twist and all that sort of stuff. He makes it out like, you're making a big deal out of nothing, you know, I've learned I have to turn it down because, you know, the American sense of humour is different from the British sense of humour and all that sort of stuff. But here's the funny thing, this is where the hypocritical side of Eddie Hearn comes out, right? Now, you know what Barry Hearn has said recently, and I am going to get to that as well, I'm not going to talk about it right now, I will get to that bit. Well, you know what he said publicly at a press conference recently, and, you know, if you remember, Tyson Fury did a video on social media where he kind of basically said that put your dad back in the closet, give him a full can of Stella and put him back in the closet, because he's talking about slave traders and he's talking about this and he's talking about that. Don't pay for the pay-per-view if you don't want to pay for it and all that sort of stuff. And he basically poked fun at Barry Hearn a little bit and Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn did an interview with IFL TV saying that I found it really disrespectful that he spoke about my dad in that way, etc, etc. Well, how does it feel, Eddie? Do you know what I mean? That's all I got to say to you. Practice what you preach. How does it feel? Because isn't Shelly Finkel someone's father? Isn't Shelly Finkel someone's grandfather or something like that? I'm sure he has a family of his own, and they've been watching and seeing this footage of where you've been poking fun at Shelly and stuff like that. And now the tables are turned, and Tyson Fury's poking fun at your dad for his recent comments. Oh, you're upset. Oh, you feel insulted. Oh, you find it disrespectful. But it's okay for you to do it. So, you know what I mean? What goes around comes around, and obviously it came around because he was really upset in that interview with IFL TV about what Tyson Fury said about his dad. So, learn to take a joke, Eddie, right? Learn to take a joke, take it on the chin. But at the end of the day, he wasn't happy with the comments of Tyson Fury, but he thinks it's okay that what he was saying to Shelly Finkel, you know, last year so much, and all the personal insults he was throwing out to Shelly Finkel and Team Wilder, well, now the shoe's on the other foot, you don't like it. You know, see what I mean? You know, it's just completely hypocritical of him. But at the same time, look, that's caused problems with making the fight, because obviously they're going to think, well, you know what, we can't have a professional conversation with you, so why waste our time talking to you? Again, so we'll go ahead and make our own plans, which is what they're doing now, and then we'll see you in 2020 when you told us you want to have this fight. I mean, was Hearn really going to offer 50-50? Was he really going to offer it? You know, I will talk about that in a bit more detail in a second. But remember, there was a $50 million offer put on the table for Anthony Joshua, which was real, and they turned it down. Let's not forget that. And then they turned around and said, remember when AJ turned around and said, hey, you know, if Wilder doesn't fall into line, you know, we're going to freeze him out. So again, that's the bit where Shelly Finkel's talking about you're dictating to us, you're trying to control us, you're telling us that you basically own us, right? And this is what's caused all these sort of problems and these fights, the fights not being made, right? And before you say that $50 million was there, I've proven it time and time again, and guess what? I'm going to prove it again, because I know what you guys are like. You're going to jump on here and say, oh, it wasn't real, that, you know, there was no contract and all that nonsense. So let's play some audio clips, you know, because you know how I love playing audio clips, right?
Latest is actually my old man's in New York at the moment. I think he's having a cup of coffee with Shelly Finkel right now. We've gone back, we've improved our offers. The conversations have been quite amicable, they've been quite sensible. They made us a very good offer. Some of the points in that offer were good, some were acceptable, some were unacceptable. But the basic response and decision from AJ, Rob McCracken and the team was that after everything that's been built in the UK, a fight of this magnitude, of this history, should take place in the UK for UK fight fans.
So, what offer were you talking about, Eddie? Because only one offer was made to you, and that was that $50 million offer. So basically, you received a term sheet. That term sheet gave you the points of that contract. That's what you said. Some of the points were acceptable. Some of the points in that offer were unacceptable. But we, after thinking about it, we wanted the fight in the UK. So that means you rejected the offer. And because you rejected the offer, no contract followed. So all this nonsense that the $50 million didn't exist is BS. right? It was there. That is evidence that it was there, right? Because he reviewed the offer. He saw the offer. So he can't turn around and say he didn't see an offer. All right?
It's the first time that I've really had issues on the financial side with a fighter. So let's say, for instance, that 50 million we spoke about. Listen, it's a hell of a lot of money, and it was an honour to even have that number thrown at me. But then when you dissected it and what it was just kind of like a rights fee. We own you for this amount of money. But the issue that I had is I've got long-standing contracts in places with certain partnerships. So you may put that money forward and think you can own me 100%, but you may only own 50%. So that makes their 50 worth 25. So when you start getting into the intricacies of a contract and what the real value is, then that starts taking place. So that's what I'm saying. The 50 was unbelievable. It's a great number and so on. But there are things in place that don't make that 50 worth the 50 to the person paying it.
So again, AJ, what $50 million are you talking about? What $50 million offer are you talking about? I thought it never existed. I thought it was never there. But it was an honour to receive such an offer. It was honour to receive a $50 million offer. But I couldn't take it for this reason and that reason. Yeah? And for, you know what, this one makes me laugh. Eddie Hearn's going around and saying that he doesn't restrict his fighters. Specifically, let's talk about Anthony Joshua. He turns around and says, Anthony Joshua, that's why he hasn't signed a multi-fight deal with DAZN, because I don't want to restrict him. I don't want to make any sort of deal that will restrict him from making an undisputed fight and all that sort of stuff. But you restricted him when it came to this $50 million offer. Let's face it, yeah, he was interested in that $50 million offer. He said it to Kugan Cassius when Kugan Cassius, Bellew versus Haye, ringside, and he said, yeah, you're going to take the offer, 50 million, baby? And he's like, yeah, but I'm not going to sell my soul for it, and this is what I'm talking about. He's saying that he wouldn't sell his soul for $50 million offer, for a $50 million offer, but you want Deontay Wilder to sell his soul for a $120 million offer, yeah? Which, if you go back 2 weeks on this podcast, right, if you go back 2 weeks on my podcast, I actually broke down why Deontay Wilder turned down that $120 million offer. People look at things with tunnel vision. They're unable to see things globally through several different angles, right? And let's not forget the other reason why that $50 million offer was rejected, okay? Let's keep it real, all right? AJ would not have known this at that time. I don't think he was aware of it, right? Because he was interested in that $50 million offer, right? But Eddie Hearn at that time would have been talking to DAZN about at that time it would have been his potential deal with DAZN, right? Fast forward to this $15 million offer that was made to Deontay Wilder, where they played all these games and stuff, and then the deal fell through and they fought Povetkin. And where did that fight land in the US? That fight landed on DAZN. That was another reason why the $15 million deal with Deontay Wilder last year they purposely made sure that that deal failed, that those negotiations failed, because DAZN wanted Anthony Joshua on their platform when they open up their platform to the US on, when was it, September 20th last year. They wanted the first fight on DAZN to be Anthony Joshua versus Alexander Povetkin. There's no way they were going to give Wilder versus Joshua away for the first month free, were they? Let's be honest. Because the first month with DAZN is for free, right? And that first month was September of last year. And the first fight that was put on there was AJ versus Povetkin. It wouldn't have gone down well with, from their profit and loss team if they put the first fight on and it was AJ versus Wilder. Wouldn't make sense, would it? So that's why the fight fell through last year when they made that $15 million offer. You played all these games. This is what I'm talking about. So are Team Wilder right to probably begrudge Eddie Hearn and not trust his word? Of course they are. And then you started this whole media spin campaign. Blah, 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 They didn't sign the contract. Blah, 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 So, of course, Team Wilder, Shelly Finkel don't want to do business with you because you can't be trusted, right? So, what are Wilder and Finkel playing at then? They know Hearn needs Wilder. I mean, who does AJ fight next? Let's be honest, yeah? The only fight that does sell out at Wembley is Whyte, or maybe even Fury. but that means splitting 50-50 with Fury and paying Whyte obscene amount of money. And some of you are thinking, huh? Why would it be 50-50 with Tyson Fury? I'm not saying it has to be 50-50. I'm not even agreeing with that, yeah? But that's what Frank Warren's been saying. When he was on Radio 5, remember him and Barry Hearn were live on there and they got into that heated debate about the percentages for that potential fight, AJ versus Wilder, and he said, well, it would have to be, Frank Warren said, well, it would have to be 50-50, and Barry Hearn was like, he went off on one, he went mad, and said, I'm not coming back on this show, etc., and all that sort of stuff, and he said, there's no way it's going to be 50-50, so we already know what it's going to take to make that fight at Wembley, and if it happens in the UK, that's got nothing to do with ESPN or Bob Arum. Frank Warren takes over because it's a co-promotional deal for Tyson Fury between Frank Warren, Queensberry Promotions and Top Rank and Bob Arum. So Bob Arum handles the US market when it comes to Tyson Fury and Frank Warren handles the UK market. So if that fight was to happen at Wembley, that's what Frank Warren's going to throw out there. And does that fight sell in America if they were to put it on in America? I don't know. And then there's the Dillian Whyte situation. Dillian Whyte is not going to settle for any sort of lowball offer. He says he knows his worth. And he's basically turned around and said, hey, this is what it's going to cost for you to make a fight with me. So they're going to, and AJ doesn't want to pay him that. So you've got a problem there as well, you know, where Dillian Whyte says, hey, this is what it's going to cost. This is what you're going to have to pay me. Yeah. And this is what I want as a rematch clause. That's why there's no fight. So again, you're in a position now where those fights are even difficult to be made. I mean, think about it. Why wasn't Jermell, you know, versus AJ when that fight originally was being made and all that sort of stuff and it was announced? Why wasn't that at Wembley? Because they were saying before team AJ, Eddie Hearn, that, oh, you know, we're comfortable here in the UK. AJ was saying himself, we're staying right here, we're not going anywhere, we don't have to go to the US anymore, we're going to keep it right here in the UK and all that sort of stuff. Do you remember that? Against, you know, I think it was against Parker, against Povetkin, he was saying the same thing. He said we're not leaving the UK. We're gonna stay right here. So what changed? The Povetkin fight changed. It didn't sell out. The Povetkin fight didn't sell out at Wembley. I think they did something like 80,000, right? Which is a lot still, but they didn't sell out. Okay, and I think they started realizing, oh, you know what? We can't keep riding this train. We can't keep riding this train. So let's make and they were trying to make the Whyte fight. And they wanted to make that Whyte fight because they knew the Whyte fight would sell out Wembley Stadium here in the UK. Everyone would have gone to watch that one. Yeah, the pay-per-view would have been really, the pay-per-view revenue would have been massive for that fight as well. And Whyte knew this. So Whyte turned around and said, hey, I want this much and I want this rematch clause. I know my worth. You need me. Again, you need me to make this work. And then obviously Eddie Hearn or Anthony Joshua said he didn't want to pay Whyte that much money, so they made the Miller fight. Now Miller wasn't, you know, he was, despite his failed drug test, the guy wasn't a complete idiot, because he turned around and said, no, you're going to pay me my money as well. Again, AJ didn't want to pay him that amount of money, right? So what happened? DAZN topped it up, and Eddie Hearn even offered a percentage of the pay-per-view, UK pay-per-view, to get Miller in there, because DAZN needed that fight. Not only that, DAZN didn't want the Whyte fight anyway, let's be honest. They pushed Eddie Hearn to say, get AJ out to the US. That's where we need him. Yeah, we need to increase our viewership here in America. Showing AJ fights during the day, you know, people are out about doing their business. And then there's other sports you got to compete with as well. So they need the fights to be on in the evening when people are at home to watch the fights. So that's why they had to push for that, and Miller came across, AJ came across the pond to fight Miller. Obviously that all flushed down the toilet because Miller failed his drug tests, right? But they've got Andy Ruiz now. But this is why they're crossing over. But not only that, the money's in America. It's not in the UK when it comes to the heavyweight division, especially when it comes to the heavyweight division. All the money is floating around in the US boxing market. Like I said, DAZN need to increase their subscription numbers. They need to increase their viewership numbers in the US. They're investing a lot of money, which is what you're supposed to do when you're a new business. Don't get me wrong, I've said this before. If I was living in America, I would pay for DAZN. A lot of people will disagree with me, but I would pay for it. I'm a hardcore boxing fan. There's a lot of names that Eddie Hearn has signed, like Usyk, Tevin Farmer, etc., that I would like to see fight. So why wouldn't I pay for it? Yeah, I think it's a pretty good deal. That's just my personal opinion. right? Other people will have different opinions to mine, and that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion, right? But they need to increase their subs and their viewerships in America, and that's why they need Deontay Wilder. They need that Wilder fight, because who does Anthony Joshua fight in the US, right? In terms of a US name, well, let's look at it. If Ortiz is lined up for Deontay Wilder next, that takes him off the list. We already know that. He priced himself out for June 1st, right? Nowaki, he's been promised the next fight after that if Wilder gets through Luis Ortiz. Yeah, they're both PBC fighters as well. So who does that leave him? Can they fight Pulev in America? Does that sell in America? Does Usyk and Joshua sell in America? Because Pulev will be the IBF mandatory. That will be his next mandatory, I think, if I'm right, for Anthony Joshua. And Usyk will be the next mandatory if he gets past Carlos Takam. He's going to become the WBO mandatory challenger to Anthony Joshua's WBO belt. Yeah, are these fights going to drive the DAZN numbers? I seriously doubt it. So they need that Wilder fight right here, right now. But Deontay Wilder really doesn't. He can play that game with them now. He can turn around and say, hey, you're in my backyard now, you need me, and you know what, tit for tat. I mean, I just thought about it actually. Can Pulev even fight in the US with that whole thing that happened with that female reporter? Like, hasn't he been indefinitely suspended or something like that? There's something going on. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know if that's going to court or whatever. So I don't even know if Pulev would be available to fight, and if he is available to fight, can he fight in the US? So that limits your options even more. Listen, I think this is a thing where they're letting Eddie Hearn know, we don't need you right now. Yeah, we have options. You need us. You made us wait, so we're going to make you wait. You said 2020, so 2020 it is. I mean, you know how the saying goes, be careful what you ask for, Eddie, because you just might get it. And now Eddie Hearn, he knows he needs to make that fight. He needs to make that fight this year. He knows that. Because DAZN need that fight to happen this year. I mean, it also sounds like to me that Shelly Finkel is trying to make the fight behind the scenes with John Skipper without involving Eddie Hearn. That's what it sounds like from his interview with TBV. They're building a working relationship, it sounds like. That's what it sounds like. Another thing, Wilder said he may turn down the 50-50 offer. Maybe. This year, if it was made to him, okay? But has Hearn even offered 50-50? Has he even considered it? I know he's talked a lot about it, saying that, I think he did an interview with Fight Hub or something like that. He said, I may have to consider making a 50-50 offer, but I guarantee you he'll turn it down. But you haven't even made the offer yet. If you make the offer, call him on his bluff. Let's see what he says. Let's see if Wilder turns it down or if he doesn't. Yeah, but Eddie Hearn's not going to risk that. He doesn't want to do that. Just in case Wilder says yes, that's less money for him. I mean, once again, Eddie Hearn says AJ can fight anywhere. The reason he hasn't signed a deal with DAZN is that he doesn't want to get in the way. He doesn't want a deal that gets in the way of an undisputed fight. Okay? So, offer a 50-50 with no tricks and make it a Showtime pay-per-view in the US and make it a Sky pay-per-view in the UK. Boom. Job done, right? Job done, because that's what it's going to take if you're going to make that fight right now. If you want that fight right now, that's the deal you've got to put on the table. But he's not going to do that. So all these people out there getting all excited, oh look, he's ducking, Wilder's ducking, look what he said. Well, actually, when you think about it, has a 50-50 offer been put on the table? No. So we don't know if Wilder will turn it down or not. We know what kind of deal it needs to be. It needs to be a 50-50 offer. No tricks, no strings attached. Yeah. It needs to be a Showtime pay-per-view and a Sky Sports pay-per-view. Boom, that fight I reckon that would get it across the line for this year. And if Wilder didn't take that, then yeah, I would call him on it. I'd probably be all over him like Whyte and Rice, like, what more do you want? But you haven't actually made an offer. So what are you guys all getting excited about out there? Like, seriously, what are you getting excited about? There's been no offer put on the table, so you don't actually know what's going to come from it. You know, you don't know what would happen because nothing's been done yet. And I can guarantee you this, Eddie Hearn's not going to offer that. I'm telling you now. Basically, you can't call it a duck unless there's an offer, and there's been no offer. Simple as that. But I mean, that's what it comes down to money, power, ego, control. There is so much money in America and in the heavyweight division. These promoters, advisors, managers are trying to position themselves, into profitable and controllable positions. Dare I say we're seeing a second Cold War? And a lot of people who haven't been following the sport long enough won't know what I'm referring to, but those who are, you will know what I'm talking about. Back in the day, quite a few years ago now, where you had Haymon, Showtime, Golden Boy Promotions, Oscar De La Hoya on one side, and then you had Bob Arum, Top Rank, and HBO on the other side. And they were literally not allowing their fighters to fight one another because they were competing with each other, competing and looking to gain control. Obviously, that all changed when Oscar De La Hoya decided that, I want to work with Bob Arum and HBO and make the best fights. And he thought he was trying to be smart. He turned around and he thought, you know what? I'm gonna split off. And he thought he had all the fighters under him, and he was gonna go off and do his own thing. And then realised that all the fighters were actually signed to Haymon, and none of those fighters were going with him. So it kind of backfired on him. And that's when that Cold War sort of thing kind of ended, right? But are we seeing that again now in boxing, especially in the US market? Yeah, you've got DAZN, Top Rank, and Showtime competing against each other. You've got PBC, Matchroom USA, and Top Rank competing against each other. And then not allowing their top level, elite level fighters to really fight on other platforms. Because the broadcasters are saying, hey, no, he needs to fight here on our platform. We can't allow him to go over there. So it's causing problems. And that comes down to money. Like I said, money, power, ego, and control. I mean, you look at the Luis Ortiz situation, right? So Eddie Hearn's just done an interview recently where he's revealed how much he offered Team Ortiz. And it wasn't even 5 million. It was 6 million was the first offer, and the second offer was 7 million. Right? And even they tried to play that game because of why? Money, power, control, etc. All that sort of thing. They were trying to, you desperately need us, and it backfired on them. And obviously when they knew Eddie Hearn was going to come out and reveal that information, they said, it's our fault, we dropped the ball, etc. and all that sort of stuff. A lot of people are now, what they're doing is that they're equating the two together, Wilder and Ortiz, what's going on. And I saw this video the other day, and it was from a UK channel, and it made me cringe. I was actually embarrassed for the person who runs that channel, because the person that runs that channel, I've heard some videos in the past, and they're actually quite intelligent, and they know their boxing, and I just couldn't believe what I was hearing in that video. It made me cringe. I was like, how embarrassing. I felt embarrassed for them, right? Where they were spinning off saying that, see, look, all you Wilder fanboys, look what Luis Ortiz is doing. Wilder's ducking as well. There's all your proof. There you go. That's the end of it. We won and all this sort of stuff and etc, right? But the two fighters are not on the same level commercially. Wilder is the WBC heavyweight champions of the world. These are two different scenarios. Luis Ortiz, a challenger, a top contender at heavyweight. He's in no, like his own manager, Jay Immonen, said on the Boxing Voice, we're in no position, to sit down and make demands. We got to take deals like that when they come along. We're not Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder is the WBC heavyweight champion of the world. His commercial value has grown massively in the last year. Last year, he was getting offered $15 million. This year, 6 months later, he's getting offered $120 million for 4 fights. And a lot of you are going to say, see, what? Look. $120 million offer. But I broke that down 2 weeks ago why that was rejected. Right? There's strings attached to that, right? Which people can't see because people don't see things globally. They see things from tunnel vision, right? But you can't compare Ortiz and Wilder like that in terms of negotiations. Wilder's in a position where he can make those sorts of demands because they need him desperately. He has that belt, his commercial value is massive, etc. Luis Ortiz is not in that position. So how you equate the two together and then say, see, look, even Wilder, that means Wilder's ducking because look, Ortiz is ducking. And it was just embarrassing to see. It's like, wow, like the level, or should I say the lack of intellect in terms of breaking these things down, these situations, these scenarios down in boxing is unbelievable. How people go on emotions and they take one little sentence out of an interview and use that, and that's it. Whereas you saw what I did at the beginning of the video. I broke down the interview with Shelly Finkel. I broke down the interview with Deontay Wilder. Then I gave you my analysis on it. But most of these channels out there, they just take one little sentence or, a couple of words that were said and they run with that without giving you the whole information. I break it all down for you here on Keep It Real Boxing. But it was embarrassing to watch. Yeah? And I actually sat there cringing and laughing like, what is this? Are you serious? I mean, look at Tyson Fury. Yeah, look at his deal. I don't believe he could fight on any other broadcaster. I think he's completely tied into ESPN. He can't go anywhere else, right? Wilder doesn't have a broadcast deal. AJ apparently doesn't have a broadcast deal, but I'm pretty sure even without a broadcast deal, he still needs to fight on DAZN. Okay? I mean, they're trying to get Vladimir Klitschko back as well. Yeah, they're trying to offer him 60, 70, 80, whatever million. But why do you think they're trying to do that? Because they know they're not going to be able to make that Wilder fight next. So if they get Vladimir Klitschko back, they can do Klitschko versus AJ too, which is what they were going to do in America when they were potentially talking about that rematch, and they were going to do it in Vegas. Yeah, there's another point as well. Like, you were happy to fight Klitschko in Vegas, AJ. He said it on Dante's Boxing Nation back then. Right, I played the clip, last year in a couple of my videos. But you got to see what's going on in the sport, yeah, and what these guys are playing at. It's all about money. They've got to make that money. The DAZN definitely needs to make that money. They need to start making some inroads. I heard a rumor that they want 1.5 million subscribers by the end of 2019. Okay, good luck with that. It's not going to be easy. I wish them all the best for that, of course. But this is why they need Wilder. This is why they're trying to bring Klitschko back. They need those subscription numbers, DAZN. There's a lot going on in boxing that people are ignoring and not understanding why these fights aren't being made. I mean, going back to Tyson Fury, this is why when Tyson Fury signed the deal with ESPN and he said, Wilder and AJ, you got to come and see me. I'm on the biggest platform. I'm the man. You got to fight on ESPN. Because I don't believe he can fight anywhere else. He's tied into a contract with ESPN where his fights must be on ESPN, not on other broadcasters. And I'm going to go back to what Eddie Hearn said, right? He said it in an interview with the Boxing Voice recently, right? And I will link everything in the description of this podcast, of this video, guys, so watch it in your own time. But he said every promoter needs to keep their elite level boxers on their network deals, right? So in certain instances they can get fighters to cross over. So Andy Ruiz, for example, is going to go fight on DAZN and fight Anthony Joshua, but that's Andy Ruiz. Yeah, he says he doesn't blame Al Haymon because the network will say, no, you need to keep your top level fighters here on our network. So Fox and Showtime. He said it was the same for him. He wants his fighters, his top elite level fighters, aka Anthony Joshua, yeah, on DAZN. Same with ESPN and Tyson Fury and Terence Crawford, yeah, and those sort of names, Lomachenko, etc. He says that that's what they have to do. They have to keep their elite level fighters on the network deals that they have. All right. Otherwise, what are those networks paying for? And the reason I bring this up is because that's why they need to get Deontay Wilder to sign to DAZN. Now, you might have heard Eddie Hearn say this a lot recently, which is AJ's not signed to DAZN. He's not signed a deal with DAZN. Eventually, yeah, we're looking at signing a multi-fight deal for Anthony Joshua to DAZN, right? But they first want to make sure they can get Wilder signed to DAZN. And once they get Wilder signed to DAZN, then Anthony Joshua will sign a multi-fight deal with DAZN. And there you go. They've got complete control of that fight. See what I mean? Money, power, ego, and control. That's what it's all about. These guys are all positioning themselves into controllable, profitable positions. But on the flip side, I think Shelly Finkel, Al Haymon, even Deontay Wilder can see that that's what their game is. And they're like, we're not going to play your game. We're going to play our game. We're going to go our own route, and we'll see you in 2020. Meanwhile, while that's going on, we'll build a good, strong relationship with John Skipper and hopefully be able to make that deal the way we want to make that deal without you, Eddie Hearn. And Eddie Hearn's probably having, DAZN talk to him and saying to him, hey, when are we going to sign Anthony Joshua to a multi-fight deal? And Eddie's probably turned around and say, well, hold on, I don't want to restrict Anthony Joshua from an undisputed fight with Deontay Wilder. So what we need to do is first get Deontay Wilder to sign to DAZN. If we can get Deontay Wilder to sign to a deal with DAZN, then I can get AJ to sign with you guys on a multi-fight deal. Do you see how it works? Like I said, money, ego, power, and control. Get it? I mean, I think these fights will happen. AJ Wilder, Fury Wilder, to AJ Fury. These big fights will happen. They have to happen. The fights are so big and there's so much money involved that they have to happen. Okay? Unfortunately, we've got to watch this game of chess that's being played by everyone. Yeah? All these promoters, managers, broadcasters, even the fighters themselves. Yeah? They're all playing chess with one another right now. And until one gets the other in a checkmate position, we're probably not going to see the fights. And yeah, I know you don't want to hear that. It's the politics and the business end of the sport. No one wants to hear it. But unfortunately, that's boxing. That's how boxing works. And we, the fans, obviously get impatient. We get frustrated. And in a sense, we lose out. And it's a risk at the heavyweight division. Because if all it takes is one lucky punch and one of these guys is getting knocked out, and that changes the whole landscape of what's going on right now. So we could even get more frustrated later on down the line if one of these guys loses. But that's how it is, guys. Now, as we're on this subject of money, power, control, egos, I want to kind of touch a little bit on the welterweight division next. Because it's not just happening in the heavyweight division, guys. It's happening in quite a few divisions, all right? And the next division on where it's quite bad, where this is happening, it's got to be the welterweight division, in my opinion. That's right, those old foes lock horns again. Al Haymon versus Bob Arum. Top Rank versus PBC. Showtime Fox versus ESPN. And of course, Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence Jr. Look, we've seen a lot of things being said by Bob Arum. He's made his comments about Al Haymon telling Spence, don't listen to the white guys, and all that sort of stuff that's been going on. If you don't know, we've also, we've seen Bob Arum, he's literally been saying that over the last few months, should I call you Al or should you call me? And all this stuff going back and forth, this debate with Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford, etc., etc., right? But I'm going to play some video clips for you guys, yeah, in terms of what's actually going on here, yeah, and why this fight isn't being made as well, okay?
This is what I'm saying.
I read it all.
This is what I'm saying. This is what I read it all too. Terence Crawford, wait till he get a belt.
Yeah.
He ain't did nothing in the welterweight today. When he get a belt, you want to go over there. Keith Thurman want to go over there, and now y'all want to say, oh, I ain't fought nobody, but I got a belt now, so why?
Okay. Sean Porter got a belt too.
So now
Sean Porter got a belt too. Sean Porter. So why would I go to easy road and knock Sean Porter out? Why wouldn't I?
Look at this dude.
Why wouldn't I?
You a smart man, but not that smart. Bro, I'm gonna crush.
So that was when Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford, I meant earlier on, not video clips, but audio clips, yeah? But that was when Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr., right, met face to face, and they were going back and forth, and everyone got excited when they saw each other at a fight night. And Errol Spence Jr. turned around and said, well, why wouldn't I take the Sean Porter fight? Why wouldn't I take the easier route? Okay, and that didn't go down well with a lot of people, yeah. And he was like, what are you playing at? Make the fight with Crawford. Okay, so let me play you the next clip now.
People talking about, oh, you ducking Terence Crawford. It's not that I'm ducking him. I got somebody in front of me that a fight can be easily made in a day. You know what I'm saying? So I can easily take that fight. Bob Brown said he want to make a fight with me and Terence Crawford, but he's back. At the end of the day, we're still human. So you get on TV, you bashing somebody and this and that. What makes you think somebody want to talk to you? Or do business with you when you bash them and saying this person is, this person that, this person is. So you know, but like I said, I think, you know, it really showed that they're real desperate, but I'm not worried about that. You know, I'm worried about getting belts, like I said, it's strap season, so, you know.
Manny Pacquiao,
I'm going to knock Sean Porter off, and then if Keith Thurman and Pacquiao fight, then I'm going to get the winner out of that, and I'm going to knock them out too, and then we won't be talking about no 50-50 split.
There you go again, another example in boxing of money, power, control and egos getting in the way of fights being made. Now, as you probably have heard, Bob Arum has said he's okay with a 50-50 split. I don't know how much of that I believe, because I don't really believe everything Bob Arum says. He's not exactly, in my opinion, a man of his word, to be honest with you, when it comes to this boxing business, right? He's proven that over many, many years. Yeah, he plays games himself. But you can see what kind of discussions Errol Spence Jr. and Al Haymon have probably been having behind the scenes, right? So right now, PBC control the welterweight division, just like how kind of had DAZN control the middleweight division. PBC have Errol Spence Jr., who's the IBF champion. They have Keith Thurman, who's the Super WBA champion. They have Manny Pacquiao, who's the WBA regular champion. They have Sean Porter, who's the WBC champion. And then they have a top contender in Danny Garcia, right? So with Arum saying that he's happy with a 50-50 split, obviously Al Haymon, and you know what? Arum's made the mistakes as well. He's doing what Eddie Hearn does, which is a sure way not to make a fight is insult your competition, right? So he's insulting Al Haymon. That's probably pissing Al Haymon off, and Al Haymon's probably thinking, why would I give you 50-50 when I control the welterweight division? Hey, Errol, let's do it this way. You can get more money than that. Yeah, you can get a higher percentage than that, right? Fight the guys we have here on PBC. Yeah, we've got champions over here. Unify the division. Yeah, become the unified champion. Fight Porter, which he looks like he's going to be doing next. Yeah, take that WBC belt. Maybe fight Manny Pacquiao, Keith Thurman after that, etc. Whatever. If I don't know, Manny Pacquiao and Keith Thurman, are they going to fight? I have no idea. Right, but basically beat Keith Thurman, take his belt, take Pacquiao, take his belt, whatever. Yeah, consolidate all the belts. Yeah, maybe even fight Danny Garcia. Put all those names on your resume. And then we go back to Bob Arum at top rank and say, right, we've got a deal for you, 70-30 split in our favour, because we've got the better record, we've got the most belts, etc, etc. Now the problem for Bob Arum is he hasn't got any opponents for Terence Crawford, top level opponents for Terence Crawford to keep him busy, right? And that's the downside about Terence Crawford signing that deal with Bob Arum. His extension with Bob Arum, I think is it 4 or 5 years or whatever it is. Yeah, he could potentially fight Kell Brook next if that fight happens, but then that's if Eddie Hearn allows that fight to happen. And if Kell Brook really is serious, can he make it to 147? Because even Eddie Hearn recently said in an interview saying that, you know what, you know, Kell does struggle to make that 147, so we'd have to see if we could make that fight, and most likely that fight would have to happen in America. But after Kell Brook, if he fights Kell Brook next, who does he fight next? Top level. You see what I'm saying? Al Haymon, it's in Al Haymon's hands. Yeah, he has control of this situation, and that's what's frustrating Bob Arum. Is Bob Arum knows he hasn't got anyone to feed Terence Crawford other than Kell Brook at the moment. But for Errol Spence Jr., he's got plenty of top level competition out there, right? So they can put themselves into a power position, which they already pretty much are, and have that control, and in the end go back once they've had all those fights and say, hey, you know what? He's fought all these guys. He's consolidated all these belts. His worth is more than Terence Crawford, so we're not going to do 50-50. We're offering you 70-30. Take it or leave it. That's what it is. Like I said, this is another example of money, power, ego, and control in boxing. Yeah, simple as that. I mean, I don't have to really say much more than that, to be honest with you. And I'm going to play you one more clip, and it was Leonard Ellaby of Mayweather Promotions. And if you all know, Mayweather Promotion is part of PBC. Yeah, all right. They're joint. Those are two companies as one, in my opinion. Right, but listen to what Leonard Ellaby says here as well.
But it wouldn't be like an Errol Spence and Terence Crawford.
Errol Spence and Terence Crawford?
Yeah.
No, that fight's not happening right now.
Okay, like what is that big roadblock? Because I feel that's what the fans really want to see.
No, what fans?
Boxing fans.
No, boxing fans want to see the best that are out there. But again, the fans are anointing those two as the best welterweights out there. They have to go out there and prove that.
Who would you like to see Errol Spence fight next then?
I would like to see Errol Spence fight who he wants to fight in his very next fight, and it's going to be a massive fight.
What if it is Terence?
It won't be Terence Crawford, I can guarantee you that.
And there you have it. Okay? That fight is not happening next. They've already mapped out and planned exactly what they're going to do. Errol Spence Jr. is going to clean up on the PBC side. I'm not saying he's definitely going to do it, but that's what the plan is. Consolidate all the belts, improve his resume at welterweight, go back to Bob Arum and say, hey, we're the A side, you need to come over to us, you need to give in to our demands, etc, etc. Power, money, ego and control. Another example of that in boxing, guys. Okay, I think I've talked enough about the boxing side and the politics side of boxing on this podcast. So let's talk about, some stupidity, some ignorance in boxing. It's not uncommon, happens all the time. So let's talk about, that's right, let's talk about the old fool Barry Hearn. Now, as you know, Barry Hearn made some inappropriate comments recently when he was at a press conference where he was leading the press conference and making the introductions. I don't really think I need to go over it too much what he said, because as you all are aware, I'm sure you've all seen it, what he said at that press conference, where he referenced terms like slave masters and referring to boxers as slaves back in the day, and how they were, promoters were the boss, and now he needs to refer to fighters like Dillian Whyte as Mr. Dillian Whyte. Yeah, he has to show respect. Alright, so here's my views on what Barry Hearn was saying. Alright, I understood what Barry Hearn was saying. Alright, I do get it. A lot of people think, I've seen these videos and where people are who share the same point of view as I do, believe that, I don't get it. I get what he was trying to say. Yeah, he's trying to say back in the day, the promoters used to treat fighters like shit. Right, whether they be black, brown, white, purple, green, it didn't matter. Yeah, the fighters were the slaves. They didn't know too much what was going on in terms of the money side of the business. They would just simply be told, here you go, you sign the contract, you sign a fight contract, and then you say, right, you're fighting that guy next, and this is how much you're going to get, and that's it. They wouldn't be told what the gate receipts were, pay-per-view money was, etc, etc, etc. Yeah, they were pretty much kept in the dark, fighters. Yeah, and they had to follow orders. Right? And Barry Hearn's trying to make it out like promoters were the slave drivers who basically ran the show. They were the boss. Right? That's what he was trying to say. I get what he was trying to say. I do. Right? I do understand what he was trying to say, that times have changed. Now you can't get away with that nonsense. Yeah? The fighters won't put up with it. They understand the business of boxing a lot better. In some cases they don't. Some people are still being treated like that. Some fighters are still being treated like that. But a lot of these top elite level fighters like Dillian Whyte, Deontay Wilder, etc., they know their worth. They know how the business end works and stuff like that. So you can't really treat them that way anymore. Yeah, and in a sense, the promoter probably needs the fighter more because there's so many options out there now, right? With broadcasters and promoters and stuff like that, and deals and all that sort of thing going on, right? So I do get what he means, don't get me wrong. So the question is, do I believe Barry Hearn is a racist? My answer to that is, I don't know Barry Hearn on a personal level. Okay, so I can't make that sort of assessment. But, so I don't think he is a racist, but I do believe Barry Hearn is an ignorant old fool. Because do I believe his comments were inappropriate and insensitive? Absolutely. I totally agree. They were unnecessary. Especially in this climate at the moment. Right? Okay, we've got a lot of that going on. Right? There's a lot of it going on in America. Yeah? This is where you are not socially aware of what's going on in the world, right? Okay, and there's a lot of people out there defending Barry Hearn because they're Matchroom fans and they're AJ fans and they're Eddie Hearn fans, yeah? Instead of doing what's right and actually calling it out like it is, which is complete, utter, blind ignorance and stupidity on the part of Barry Hearn, they're trying to defend it. It was wrong, right? We're living in an era now where if I feel like racism's coming back with a lot, like massively. It's always been there, don't get me wrong, it's never disappeared. But when I'm seeing social media videos, or even here in London, you know, I saw a recent video where, you know, a black guy was on a train and there was a group of drunk young white kids, and one of them started doing monkey noises. And he pulled out his camera instead of so I'm not going to hit these guys because they're drunk, but you know what, I'm going to video and put them all over social media. And the guy actually, then one of the kids actually turned around and started jumping around on the seats and went up right up to his camera and started making loud monkey noises. There was a white woman sitting in front of him and she said, yeah, you lot are brave when you're in a group. On your own, you're nothing. Right? And there's loads of things. You look at America, yeah, the police violence against people of the ethnic community, right? And it's not just blacks, you know, they're doing it against other ethnic communities as well, right? That's nothing new. That's been going on for God knows how long, right? I remember when I was a kid and I saw a news report here in the UK over the whole Rodney King situation, right? But there's other things that have gone on socially regarding, you know, racism and fascism in the world today at the moment. And I'm going to show you a couple of pictures. Who remembers this? Who remembers these pictures? Right? So one's a little bit more recent than the other. So last year we had, on the left, you had this picture with this young black boy, which was used by H&M out in America. And as you can see on the jumper, it says, coolest monkey in the jungle. And they started claiming, oh, we weren't aware that this would be insulting and all that sort of stuff. Well, you're pretty dumb and ignorant if you didn't know that putting a jumper on a young black boy like that and saying coolest monkey in the jungle wasn't going to be seen as racist, right? Then you got on the right, you got the whole Gucci scandal which recently came out, all right, where they put this young white girl in a jumper which imitated the minstrel shows back in the days, yeah, where white people would, when they were in the theatre, white people would dress up like black people and colour their skin, put paint on their skin or whatever, and so I start mocking black people back in those days, right? And this was the Gucci scandal, right? So this is what I'm talking about, the current climate we're living in at the moment, right, for this kind of stuff. Then you got Barry Hearn, who has a son, right, in Eddie Hearn, who heads off his company, Matchroom, in the form of Matchroom USA, trying to make inroads in the US, working tirelessly hard. He is working hard, by the way. You know what, I have to respect that about Eddie Hearn. He does have a really good, really strong work ethic, right? Trying to make, you know, things happen and make things work and make their venture into the US a success, right? And then you got Barry Hearn making comments about slave traders while sitting next to a Jamaican immigrant, right? And then on top of that, you got Eddie Hearn, who was trying to sign a lot of the PBC fighters, right? Charlo, Gervonta Davis, Adrian Broner, even Deontay Wilder, right? And then you've got Barry Hearn making comments like he did the other week, right? And here's my point. As we're on Deontay Wilder, this is what Deontay Wilder had to say regarding Barry Hearn's comments. He said, that's why we are with Al Haymon. Al takes the power from the slave masters and gives it to the fighters. No one is complaining about our Haymon. We're good. We're looked after, basically is what he was saying. Now, Deontay Wilder is well known. He gets involved with a lot of the civil rights stuff that's going on in America, these marches and stuff like that. He gets involved in a lot of that sort of stuff, from what I understand. Right? A lot of people will probably turn around, okay, so if he's so all about that, why did he go, to the White House and shake Donald Trump's hand, etc. and all that stuff? Well, that was about a pardon that was being issued to Jack Johnson, who was the first black heavyweight boxer in the history of boxing. Right, and Jack Johnson's family asked Deontay Wilder to come along. They wanted him here as a representative because he was a current world champion, American world champion, and he's black, right? And he also asked Lennox Lewis to come along as well. So he turned around and said, I'm not going to turn down the family, who are making that request. So out of respect for Jack Johnson, that's why I did it, right? But my point being here is that, look, you can put this comment out there, yeah. I'm not saying Barry Hearn's a racist, but I am saying he's an ignorant old fool, right? Because do you honestly think a lot of those PBC fighters now are gonna ever want to sign with Eddie Hearn that he's been chasing after? Look at what Deontay Wilder said. I've never really talked about race and race issues on my channel, but when you think about it, right, I know this already. I already knew this. I always knew this, right? That the reason a lot of these fighters, Adrian Broner, the Charlos, Errol Spence Jr, Sean Porter, Deontay Wilder, all these fighters are loyal to Al Haymon isn't just because he looks after them and he pays them well. It's because the current climate in America, they feel safe with Al Haymon because he's black. Simple as that. And that's what Deontay Wilder's basically telling you there. We're in good hands with Al Haymon. We're safe. He's not going to screw us over. And you can't blame him for feeling that way because of the amount of things that are going on in America at the moment. Yeah, like, don't get me wrong, we get it here as well in the UK. Don't get it twisted. But if I had to say where is it at its worst, it's definitely in America. Right? And Barry Hearn goes out and puts a stupid comment like that. And then you got Eddie Hearn trying to defend it. Eddie, we know what he was trying to say, but it was still inappropriate. You should not have been using that sort of terminology and that sort of analogy. It's the worst possible analogy you could have used. Yeah, especially when you've started operating out in the US as well. Yeah, and it has offended people. Yeah, I understand how it's offended people. I understand why people are upset about it. I get it. Okay, but you can't go around making statements like that. Right, it's irresponsible, absolutely irresponsible. And if I was Eddie Hearn, I would keep Barry Hearn away from the mic from now on. He needs to sit in the back and just do his thing. Whatever it is he gets up to, go fly fishing, go fishing, or whatever he likes to do. Yeah, but sorry, yeah, I'm not going to condone it. It was inappropriate, it was wrong, and Barry Hearn shouldn't have said it. Yeah. Because you were going to offend people with that comment. And the worst thing is that this is why I say Barry Hearn's ignorant, because he doesn't even understand or even see what he said was wrong. I think Eddie Hearn does, because Eddie Hearn turned around and said he did an interview and he said he told his dad, you're going to get some backlash on this one, and there's going to be some people are going to push some narratives around this, twisted narratives around this. And he was like, what? And then when he explained it to his dad, he was like, what are you talking about? That's not what I meant. But this is how ignorant Barry Hearn is. His comments were out of sheer blind ignorance. And the thing is, he can't even see it. Yeah? And it shouldn't have happened. So I'm not going to say Barry Hearn's a racist, but I am going to say he's an ignorant old fool. Yeah? But it shouldn't have happened. It was wrong. It was a wrong analogy to use. You do not use that. Especially when you're sitting next to a black man in Dillian Whyte. And I'm surprised Dillian Whyte kind of sat there and took that. I was surprised, but whatever. But it shouldn't have been said. Simple as that. And I agree with that tweet that I just showed you from Spencer Ferron, which was, it was irresponsible on the part of Barry Hearn. Definitely. Yeah, that's my take on the whole Barry Hearn and his slave trader comments. Okay, so that's the end of the podcast, guys. That's all I've got for you this week. The main stories anyway I wanted to talk about. There are little bits of other little stories going on in boxing, but you know what? I think I might have to do like a midweek mailbag to kind of catch up with all that other stuff. Listen, Let me know what you think of any of the topics that I've touched on today. Remember, like, share and subscribe, of course. Until next time, this is Cypherbox reminding you to keep it real.
I was gonna rip his heart out, I'm the best ever. I'm the most brutal and vicious and most ruthless champion there's ever been. There's no one can stop me. Lennox is a conqueror, no, I'm Alexander, he's no Alexander. I'm the best ever, there's never been anybody ruthless. I'm Sonny Liston, I'm Jack Dempsey, there's no one like me. I'm from Nairclaw, there's no one that can match me. My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart, I wanna eat his children. Praise be to Allah.